Dominique! Dominique! Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Franchise Deep Dive with Jake and Josh, the podcast where we dive deep into all of your favorite and least favorite movie franchises, giving our thoughts and opinions on the individual films we discuss, as well as breaking into behind-the-scenes facts and trivia. I'm Jake.
And I'm Josh. Jake's looking pretty good today.
Yeah, I had to bust out the dress shirt for our episode today. We are, of course, continuing our Three Colors trilogy franchise deep dive. In the last episode, we checked out the first film, that being Three Colors Blue. We are, of course, if you can't tell by our attire, we are tackling Three Colors White, the second film in the trilogy. And I don't know if we really discussed it in the last episode, but we mentioned how it is a unique and interesting trilogy, especially just from like how the films are kind of different in tone and aesthetic and whatnot. But what's also interesting is that each one is about different characters, and there is a smidge of overlap, which we didn't really get into in the first episode, as it's the first in the franchise. But in this one, you start to see how certain stories kind of overlap, and how certain characters in this film kind of appear in the first one, and vice versa and whatnot. But we'll break into all of that. Let me kind of set the stage for this film. Of course, Three Colors White, released in 1994, again directed by Krzysztof Kieslowski. I could also not find the budget for this film, nor Three Colors Red, or the first one, so there's that. This one made 1.4 mil at the box office, has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 89% from the critics, and an 87% from audiences. So still very, very high reviews, not as high as the first film in the trilogy, but still very, very well liked. And I will read off the IMDb plot synopsis, kind of set the foundation for the film. After his wife divorces him, a Polish immigrant plots to get even with her. Very similar to the description for Three Colors Blue. Very, very simple, and obviously, like Blue, a lot more going on in the film, a lot more complexities added to the characters and the story beats and everything, which I'm sure we'll break into. But even more than the first film and the third one, I found very, very, very few trivia facts deemed interesting for Three Colors White.
I don't even think I have any, so...
I found one that I thought was kind of interesting from a director to actor kind of perspective, and it's that Julie Delpy, a franchise deep dive alum, and if you haven't checked out our episode talking about the Before trilogy, highly recommend it. It is one of my favorites. We had some really great discussions about those three films. Also, the other trilogy that's probably as artsy and complex as this one. So if you like hearing us talk about less bigger franchises, definitely go check out that episode. But the one that I thought was interesting is Julie Delpy, who plays the female lead in this film, the, as mentioned, wife who divorces our main character. During the scene where our main character, whose name is Carol, when he calls her after spotting a man in her room, she picks up the phone and forces him to listen to her moaning and having sex with this man. And one of the trivia facts that I found is that director Krzysztof Kieslowski had very, very specific instructions for her during that scene as to when she should moan, how long she should moan, and when she should specifically moan louder. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Wow.
I also noted that this is the only film in the trilogy where the specified titular color, this being white, obviously, is represented in every single shot of the movie. There is not a single frame in this film where apparently the color white does not make some sort of appearance. So I thought that was kind of cool, kind of interesting. But that's really it for me. I don't know.
That seems like it's definitely a hard color to kind of like not have though in the scene, right?
Yeah, white isn't a lot, so get a little bit of snow in this movie. This one definitely has like way more practical usage of the color than the other two, which are a little bit more like specifically implemented into certain scenes and whatnot.
That ice skating shot I love a
Oh,
lot.
it's
I love a lot.
yeah, that's probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire film. That like also the scene that kind of precedes it with the one character whose name I am already forgetting. Who's the guy
Is it
that
Nikolai?
he helps?
Nikolai?
Yeah, Mikolai. Him and Mikolai in the subway station, I think, is
Yeah.
to me the
That
most impactful and powerful scene
yeah.
in the film.
That's probably the
Yeah.
scene for me. But I will say, there's a very cozy scene. You were talking about coziness, and
Oh,
I mean, I guess I could just talk. It's not a spoiler or anything, but like that.
yeah.
And I get some of my haze in there, some of that haziness when he.
Oh, you
it's
love that
after
haze.
I love the haze. It's after he. I think he eavesdrops. He eavesdrops on the two. I don't know. I forget what they are, but they employ him, I think, and he hears about this piece of land that they're going to buy, and he kind of like beats them to it. So he visits this guy's house, and it's
Yeah.
just this like it's like evening, little haze, and inside it's just so cozy. They're they're at the kitchen table together. You get this little like candle. Yeah, I absolutely love that scene a lot, just from a cozy standpoint. That's like the cozy part for me, since Jake said this whole trilogy was hitting him in his cozy feels.
Yeah, and I had kind of mentioned in the previous episode how I felt that this was a very good trilogy, that we did not plan for it to be this way, but felt like a very applicable trilogy of films for the fall autumn aesthetic. But this one definitely, I guess, leans probably the most into that more winter aesthetic. As we mentioned, there is that kind of bit of snow, and it definitely has a more cold feel to it in terms of like its visual aesthetics than per se Blue or Red, which is interesting because this is easily the lightest and funniest film in the entire trilogy. And I don't know about you, but I was particularly caught off guard after, giving Blue another viewing and kind of going straight into White. And it is just a complete tonal shift. And I'd love to get your thoughts on it, like how you feel about it in comparison, especially to Blue, but also like your overall thoughts on the kind of tonal switch up. But I think it's funny, and the best way to kind of explain it to listeners, if you haven't seen these films and you're still listening for some reason, also full spoilers, guys. I don't know if we said that, but we will be spoiling the hell out of all the plot beats and story moments in this film. But in the first film, Three Colors Blue, it starts out with a car crash in which a woman loses her dear husband and also her 5-year-old daughter. The first event in this film is a guy gets shit on by a pigeon, and then immediately after, in the court of law, his wife divorces him because he cannot get an erection and have sex with her. So if that doesn't explain the overall tonal shift from Blue to White, then I don't know what does. But yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
I'm fine with it because I'd be fine if this movie did either thing, if it stayed kind of like on point with like the very heavy drama, but I don't think it needs to, because we're experiencing different people's lives. It doesn't have to be like heavy hitting all the time. And this movie's kind of like, I mean, it's not like a full on, I mean, it was kind of like a dark comedy. So there's a lot of seriousness.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, you're not getting a huge jump in like where it's like slapstick. It never feels like ridiculous, like the bird shit.
There's a bit of slapstick in this.
Well, like
I know what you mean, though. It's not.
Maybe I'm kind of forgetting like those scenes. You gotta have to remind me.
I
Of,
mean,
like, some of the.
Carol gets like the shit beaten out of him at one point.
Oh
like,
yeah,
and thrown down a little hill, like that. And that's
Yeah.
what like I didn't mean to explain this in the way that like, oh, this is like a Seth Rogen or a Will Ferrell comedy. This is a drama. A drama comedy. Like there are obviously serious elements in this. There are some very emotional moments. We had kind of brought up the scene in the subway station with the character Mikolai, who we'll talk about him and that scene a little bit later. But yes, there are serious elements, but I think the overall tone of this movie and I guess there is dark moments, there is drama, there is serious moments, but as a whole, they're treated with a lot more levity, I guess, than Blue, whereas Blue has moments of comedy as well and some lighter moments, but the overall encasing emotion of that film is a lot of dreariness, a lot of, trauma and grief. So I just think it is a harsh, not super harsh, you're not getting whiplash, but just in comparisons to the like arc and journey that these characters go on, I just thought this film was a lot lighter in that sort of sense. But
no, it is. Now, we mentioned in the last episode that Roger Ebert defined that as like an anti-tragedy, right?
Yeah, anti-tragedy.
And I think he says this one's like the anti-comedy, does he not?
Yes, anti-comedy was his.
I'm wondering why, because like this one is seen as like the more comedic one. Is it like, how do you feel about him describing it as like anti-comedy?
That's what I was kind of curious about, and I also wanted to ask you about that as well, and just get like your thoughts on it.
I'm still thinking about it, to be honest.
Because to me, like, I can totally see the idea behind calling Three Colors Blue anti-tragedy, as the overall kind of theme and emotional arc in that film is essentially, at least from my perspective, I'm sure people have different analyses and different kind of perceptions of that film and what it means to them, but for me it's kind of the idea of not letting your grief and trauma keep you in the past and not holding you down, and like you had kind of brought up in terms of like its correlation to the color blue in the French flag and what it stands for, that being liberty, that kind of like emotional liberty of freeing yourself from that trauma and grief and whatnot. But this one, again, like to me, it does read as very funny in a lot of the way that scenes kind of unfold and are executed through just like the characters' reactions. But also, and I wanted to kind of bring this up because it was very interesting to me, and it'll be interesting again when we bring this up in Three Colors Red, but we'd kind of brought up in the first episode the whole sequence with the older person trying to recycle and how that scene was treated in that film with Julie's character and what she was going through. And whereas this film, you have the scene and it is very literal, whereas we kind of talked in the first one, it almost feels like this dream sequence where you don't know if it's real or not. In this one, it is a very real scene where this character, Carol, who has gone through this divorce, and we didn't really bring it up, but Julie Delpy's character in this film is kind of a psychopath. She's kind of psychotic in a couple of scenes, just throwing that out there. But he's fleeing from the police and he's down on his luck, and he has his moment where he sees and I think it's an older man in this one as opposed to an older woman in the first film. So it's an older man in this scene, and he's trying to recycle. And whereas in the first film, Julie feels very disconnected from that scene and that moment, this one has our lead character, Carol, just watching this person struggle and laughing at them. And, just him just laughing at this older person struggling to recycle. So, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what... I had a lot more of an easy time trying to figure out what that scene meant in Three Colors Blue that I do in this film. And also, going back to that Ebert quote, like, I don't particularly know what he means by anti-comedy. Like, what... Is it just the idea that maybe this character was treating his life as a joke up until he kind of made that pivotal switch in this film about what life really means and what it means to truly be alive and to feel that kind of sense of freedom? And maybe it is an anti-comedy. It's maybe it's, hey, take life seriously and don't waste a moment and don't live passionless. I'm wondering if that kind of ties into it.
I was wondering if he meant like anti-comedy as like just like a black comedy where it's like there are scenes that are humorous and it's kind of like poking fun at situations, and there is irony. So is it just in that sense of like this isn't a straight up comedy? It is like it's kind of like the antithesis of it, but it's done ironically. I don't know if he just means it like that. The way, like,
I'm wondering if
Fargo
it is like
kind of like Fargo's like a black comedy. So could that be also described as like an anti-comedy?
But I don't remember because Siskel and Ebert both loved Fargo, and I'm sure they gave this film and all three of these films good
Oh,
good
oh yeah,
reviews as well. But
they love these films.
I don't.
all
I've
of them.
I've seen their review of Fargo. Both of them called it the best film of that year. And what was that, 96, I believe, Fargo. But
Yeah,
neither of them,
think-
I don't remember them using the words like, "Hey, this is an anti-comedy." They
Yeah.
very specifically labeled it, I believe, as like a dark comedy. So the idea of calling it an anti-comedy is very interesting to me because, like we've highlighted, there are very comedic scenes, very intentionally so. One of my favorite running gags in the film, and it's something we always talk about on this podcast, is how so much of the dramatic effect, whether it's for dramatic purposes, tension building purposes, and in this case, comedic effect, I think that the lead actor who plays Carol in this film has some of my favorite reactions. There's so many scenes in the film that are, yeah, it's kind of funny at first, and then you get his reaction to what's happening, and it just adds to the overall comedic effect of the scene. So yeah, I what do you take at? Like, is that like your kind of takeaway? Is that like it is like maybe in comparison to another one of my favorite films, Funny Games, both the U.S. and the original film from 1997 from director Mikhail Haneke, he describes those films as kind of anti-horror films. Even though on a surface level they are very much horror thriller, there is this layer of commentary over what the audience expects a horror film to be, what they go into a horror film wanting out of the experience. So I'm wondering if that is like his kind of take on what Kozlovsky was going for with this film, where it's this, you know, this is a comedy in a sense, even though there are dramatic elements and the overall arc is dramatic. But is it an anti-comedy in the sense that it's trying to put a spin on what you, the audience member, expect out of a comedy?
As we're talking about it, I'm kind of like thinking, okay, I don't think it literally, it doesn't mean like, oh, an anti-comedy, you could think just means, oh, it's just a drama. No, I think it is just like the poking fun at like, it's very serious in like the themes still. So this is like a revenge movie kind of. And so this, we mentioned that the color for this being white is equality. Did we say that in the beginning?
I don't think we did. I just briefly mentioned like what we talked about in the last episode, where blue kind of represented liberty. But if you want to go into that,
for
white
this movie,
meaning equality.
white represents equality, and that is very apparent with. We're seeing like it says he's a Polish immigrant. His wife is French, and there was that. I believe, like I read a little bit, and I think the early '90s is when Poland it kind of abolished the communism and kind of went into a capitalist movement society. So
that's interesting.
I don't know if you read any of that. I was kind of getting
no,
a history lesson.
I didn't. I didn't know that.
And this is and that's their transition into like more capitalism was, I think, when they were kind of deciding if they were going to unify with France and be part of that like European unification, which we forgot to talk about in blue, was the score that Patrice, Julie's husband, was working on. It was for the unification of Europe. So this
yes.
So this does transition very well from that. So I think because it's talking about the inequalities that these Polish immigrants have like dealt with, and he's very degraded in this movie. Like he gets stripped of everything. I mean, he can't even he gets his passport taken. He has to get himself smuggled in a suitcase. It's like comedic.
The suitcase gets stolen.
Yeah. It's like it is very funny, but it's like sad at the same time. You know, these like situations that he's in. So I think that's where this anti-comedy is actually like kind of like enforced.
It's an interesting kind of dichotomy of emotions, because like you are laughing at this guy, but you are also feeling incredibly sorry for him, because like at first I'll be honest, and it has nothing to do with his appearance. He is just portrayed as a little schlubby. Like he strikes you as a guy who does not live life to the fullest. And I know a lot of us are guilty of that. And a lot of us are guilty of just going through the motions a lot of the times and just kind of letting life pass you by. That's like a whole thing. And that kind of seems to be where this character is at the start of the film. He, you know, it is kind of played up for comedy, where his wife is divorcing him because he can't get an erection and have sex with her, which is like on the surface it's a very funny way to start the film. like again, like I had kind of mentioned, in one of like the first couple of shots, a pigeon just shits on his shoulder. And so he does go through so much shit in this movie, and it kind of reminds me of, have you ever seen Scorsese's After Hours?
Yeah.
So it reminded me a lot of that, especially for the first half of this movie, where this character is just going through so much awful shit. It just seems like one bad thing keeps happening after another, a sort of snowball effect. Like we didn't really mention why he has to smuggle himself into the other country. It's because he breaks into a salon that him and Julie Delpy's character Dominique, my opening quote of the film, and I did it because at one point when he's running after her, he goes, Dominique, Dominique. But no, that he breaks into this salon that they did jointly own, but he lost it in the divorce. And she catches him, and it's one of my favorite scenes comedically too, because the second she like walks in, she sees him asleep there, and instead of just waking him up, like tapping him on the shoulder and telling him he has to leave, she throws her bag at him and immediately starts calling the police. He's able to talk her down. They begin to initiate sex, and yet again he cannot get an erection and can't have sex with her. And then she freaks out, she gets pissed off and pulls out the lighter and flicks it in front of him, and she says something like, hey, watch this. And I was like, where is this going? And then she walks over to the curtains and sets the drapes on fire and is like, listen, I'm going to frame you for this, and every cop is going to be looking for you. So he gets in like all this shit. He's lost his wife because he can't get hard. He has to smuggle himself into this other country through a suitcase, which we had already highlighted, gets stolen. And then when the guys who steal the suitcase realize that he has no money on him, they just beat the shit out of him and they throw him down a fucking hill. It is like this guy just, again, consistently is going through all this awful shit. And I'm wondering now, like you had kind of brought up, is Kozlowski, is he trying to point at us, the audience, and say, you guys shouldn't be laughing at this? Is that maybe like the intent, like to be like, hey, this isn't funny, but because of the way we're presenting it, you're still laughing? And then it's, I don't know, it's like a very interesting kind of way to view the film from that sort of lens. But I guess like on like a less thematic level, and we'll highlight it in Three Colors Red as well, the film is beautifully shot. I don't know if you're aware of this, but each of the three films had different cinematographers. And what I thought was really interesting about this one is, and maybe it's just hyper fixated on this one, but you get more POV shots in this film than I think in the other three, starting with probably my favorite shot of the film, which is the POV tracking shot of Dominique and Carol's wedding day. And they show it at the beginning of the film, and then at the end they loop back around to it. But it is just this gorgeous shot of Carol's POV on his and Dominique's wedding day as they're leaving the chapel, and they go outside and everybody starts clapping and cheering, and they throw the what are they, like the seeds at them, or the rice, whatever people throw at weddings.
What is that?
Rice.
Is that?
I don't know. I don't know, but they throw this. They throw. It's got to be rice because the three colors white. Rice is white, but they throw what I'm gonna say is rice at them, and you know, Julie Delpy's character Dominique, she turns around at him, and you just get this beautiful like up close POV shot, and it is so. I love too, and I'm not sure if this was done in camera or in post production, but because you have to light indoor and outdoor scenes very differently, and obviously outside sunlight is going to be a lot brighter than inside a church, as he is following her in this POV shot through the church hall doors. It like gets overexposed when they get outside, which is just like, again, like implementing that titular color in this film being white into the visuals in such a creative and unique way. It's just eye candy galore, but I love it.
I think my shot, I do love that. My shot just has to be the, I mentioned it earlier, just the ice rink when they're like laying down, and there's just like that vantage point of light just kind of like leading up to them, and they're like right below the sun. I just love how that looked.
Oh, dude, I mean, it was just, I picked to me what I assume is probably the most iconic shot of the film, with that being like that POV tracking shot. But there really is just there in every scene in this film. There's so many shots and moments from the framing to the movement where you could just take a screenshot of it and you could make that like the backdrop of your laptop or something. There's just so many aesthetically pleasing shots, and again, like this does like it just has such a cozy feel to it, just like Blue and Red do as well. But again, that it has like that little bit of a colder vibe to it. You mentioned them going to the ice ring, and to me, my favorite sort of, I guess, just relationship and dynamic in this film is that of Nikolai and Carol. I love how their friendship starts. I love just how it develops. I think from a writing standpoint, the idea of just meeting this other person who is a Polish person just like you in this train station when you're at this just worst part of your life and you're hitting rock bottom, and they offer you this very strange job in which Nikolai mentions to Carol that he has a friend who doesn't want to live anymore, doesn't want to go on, but doesn't have the courage to kill himself. And so he'll pay a lot of money for somebody to kill him because he wants to die. And this is sort of forgotten about, and it's sort of looped back around towards the end of the second act, beginning of the third act of the film, where Carol, at this point, he wants to do it. He's like, fine, tell me about this friend. And he goes to meet this person in the subway, where it's revealed that Nikolai is the friend who wants to kill himself. And you get this amazingly well-directed and just beautifully acted scene with Carol and Nikolai where Carol fires the gun. He brings a gun to kill him, and he fires him, and they both drop to the ground. And your heart is just beating, and it's just boom, 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 boom. And you're just like, oh my God, did he just kill him? And Nikolai's head tilts up and his eyes open. And again, Carol, who's had so many great comedic reactions in this film, is at a moment in his life which goes on to be like a defining moment in his life, where he not only realized why he wanted to go on and why he wanted to continue to live life, but now showing that same kindness and showing that same passion for life, and just yanking it out of Nikolai by revealing to him that that the first bullet was a blank and the next one is real, and asking him again, do you want this to end? And Nikolai now wants to continue living. And just the way that scene plays out in a film that, again, darkly comedic but still comedic, is just it like just moved me on such an emotional core level that I was just blown away by that entire scene.
Yeah, and it keeps that relation to the previous film of this woman who also lost her will to live, and she's slowly getting these realizations to pull her out of that and find this new sense of like belonging. And that's what Carol just gave this guy by doing that to him. I think Carol is so good in this movie.
He's fantastic.
I mean, this whole trilogy, incredible performances across the board. This guy can just form tears without looking like he's doing anything. I mean, he just like the way they just kind of like develop, and he just doesn't even look like he's trying. It just makes it so real. But I can't.
They should have got him to teach Daniel Radcliffe in Prisoner of Azkaban. Maybe he wouldn't have ruined that scene.
Oh my God, yeah, that stinks.
Sorry, didn't mean to throw that one at you.
That could be the highlight scene for me also. But I kind of want to go to the opening scene, because just to kind of stay on this line of like anti-comedy, we said how, there's the scene of him like kind of smuggling himself in this desperate attempt of like, going in a suitcase. It's like, it just goes through all these like humiliating scenes, and that court scene where like on the surface the reasoning is like almost like juvenile. It's like humiliating. There's like, you can't help but like, I mean, some people would laugh at that, I guess, because it's like ridiculous, but this guy's, it's like a full on serious scene. And I love that there's like this there's just like waiting he has to do to hear these like dagger comments from his wife. Like he has this interpreter that's like telling him
Yeah.
what she's saying, and it creates this tension that you're feeling for him. I don't know. I guess I laughed at some parts of this movie, but I guess I didn't laugh all the time at like even things like that, because like I do see that there's like something serious happening, but they bring in this kind of like sometimes ridiculous reasoning or something like that where it's just like embarrassing. But when the judge says to her, or I think like, do you love him anymore? And she says, I used to. And he's just, and it's just the shot of him just like looking up, and he's just like hoping to hear something a little bit to like relieve him. And I don't know, you hear what she's saying, but he doesn't yet. And I don't know. I love that scene so much.
Yeah, no, I love that shot of him, and to even follow that scene up, I love that it's just a very simple shot, but it's this sort of low angle, what looks like an insert shot, but you can see Carol in the kind of background of the shot, and he's a little blurred out, but he goes to use his credit cards, and he realizes that Dominique has frozen all the accounts, and so he asks for the card back, and right in front of Carol, the guy just cuts up his credit card right in front of him, but it just kind of hyper fixates and focuses on the cards being cut up, and as he's kind of blurred out in the background. But it's very interesting that you brought up the courtroom scene, because while you were talking about it, I was kind of thinking about how that's how the film starts and how it ends. But right before I get into that idea, I do want to mention that we kind of mentioned how these films loosely tie into each other, and you'll see a little bit of crossover. And there's a scene in Three Colors Blue where Juliette Binoche's character is kind of walking around the court, and she's spying in on this courtroom proceeding, and you don't really see or hear what it's about, and she tries to go into the courtroom to get more in on it, and she gets kind of told to leave by the police officer, courtroom guard, whatever. And then you find out, obviously in Three Colors White, that Julie was walking in on Dominique and Carol's divorce hearing. And so I just think that's a fun little way, to have your characters cameo and tie into each other. Obviously, these films have a lot of thematic linking ideas and a lot of concepts that kind of carry over from one film to another. But I just think it's a fun little way to do that. I liked that. But moving on from that is the idea I had, where I think it's very interesting. And I didn't think about it until you were talking about it, but Dominique and Carol are kind of separated by a translator at the beginning of the film. They need somebody else to communicate between them. And you had kind of mentioned how this is loosely a revenge film, and we didn't break into that too much, but ultimately Carol does get his revenge. He ends up starting a company with Nikolai after saving his life and showing him the meaning of life. They become very successful together, and Carol fakes his death and frames it on Dominique. So, like, again, another very darkly comedic thing. Like, it is played for laughs, but he essentially fakes his death, pulls the ultimate jump scare, shows up at Dominique's place, has sex with her, proves that he's not impotent anymore, and then frames her for his murder, which is just, again, they are both like crazy levels of psychotic, which I just think adds to the overall humor of the film. But very interesting that the film sort of ends with Carol from a distance checking in on Dominique, who is in jail now. She was arrested for his murder, and she's in the jail cell, and he can kind of see her from a distance. He's using his binoculars, and without saying a word, she just does a couple of hand gestures and motions, essentially saying that she wants to marry him again. And so I think it's a very interesting way to start and then bookend your film, where at the beginning the two characters have very, very hard, difficult trouble communicating with each other, to the point where they need somebody to kind of mediate and talk to one another through this translator. And the film kind of ends with them being on the same page and being able to communicate without even saying a word. So I'm wondering if that too is just like Kozlowski being like very intentional with like how he begins his movies versus how he ends them. So I don't know if I'm just, again, reading too much into that or if that's like an okay analysis, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
no.
Very interesting to think about.
No, oh man, I love that final shot just where he's
Yeah.
just like coated in tears. It's just like I don't even know if I don't know if are you supposed to feel like emotional, happy, bitter? I don't know. Like
I
it
had
kind of leaves
such
you
a
like
dude, it's like you don't know what to feel. Like I
I
had like a
know.
crazy mix of emotions, and it's like very similar to a poster of mine back there, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, another fantastic film, Charlie Kaufman written. And not gonna loosely spoil a little bit of Eternal Sunshine, guys, but the way that film kind of ends is very reminiscent to me of Three Colors White, where you don't know, like, are you supposed to be happy for them? Are you supposed to be angry at them for what they did to each other? It's like this crazy, just like hailstorm of different emotions just hitting you all at once. That like, and it didn't even really like, yeah, it resonated with me, but just talking with you about it more and just like both of us together kind of at the same time trying to dig into this movie and try to figure out like its themes and what it means, it is just making me love it even more and just in like more impressed with like how well done it is, like
I
from
agree.
all conceivable
Yeah.
standpoints, the
I
writing, direction.
yeah. Because like blue,
Yeah.
you definitely get, and we didn't even talk about the ending shot of that, but I love this the subtle like in tears and then that subtle like smirk she gives at the
Oh yeah.
end. I'm sorry if you're just listening to this episode without watching that one, so I guess that was a little spoiler. But
Little visual
I
gag.
like that this one you don't have this full feeling of levity. You're kind of like you're conflicted with that of like it's like a bittersweet. It's like, oh, I mean, but it's because of how
Yeah.
it portrays these characters. These people are like they're not good people, but they are like Carol is sympathetic, but he it even connects with the old man. Like he there is like a sinister quality to him, like
Yeah.
where he's just like cynical. And so I like that Kozlowski doesn't really give you a definitive. It kind of just like he ends with like you questioning what you should feel. You question that moral that
Yeah.
kind of like I don't know. And that's what he does with the theme of equality. He doesn't give any answers to this because I like that it's kind of brought in of there's like temporary equality given that's why there's like a revenge background kind of driving Carol in this movie. It's kind of like
Yeah.
eye for an eye, but you're kind of like wondering and he has him kind of like navigate this new society like I talked about earlier in Poland where they're going into this capitalist nation. So he's kind of taking advantage of this, finding financial success where he's not on the lower end of the pole anymore. Now, is it equal or is he just kind of like I don't know? You're kind of just are people ever going to be like permanently equal or
Yeah.
I don't know. I just
Well, it's
it's
I
it's,
love
it's a tough
to
it's a tough
just-
word to really like think about because it's like yeah you like people want equality but
like what is true
is-
equality.
yeah what is it really is I don't know I don't know it's there's a lot to think about these movies but I like
No,
that it just
and that's
doesn't
why,
give you
like-
it doesn't try to give you
I
answers
feel like-
always.
No, and like I love that aspect because it is very interpretable, and I love that, like you had mentioned, Kozlowski doesn't give a lot of answers, at least in a straightforward sense, and he just allows you as the audience member. It's like these films are very much designed to be talked about and to be discussed, and he doesn't give the straightforward answers because a lot of it is, hey, what do you take out of this scene? Like, what does this scene mean to you? Why? What do these themes mean to you? Like, what do you take away from the film? And in the kind of, in a very like just similar vein, I love that he took two characters like Carol in this film and Julie in Three Colors Blue, and the way that their characters are sort of, there's a bit of a symmetry there where Julie was happy, she was content with her life, and then a horrible tragedy took her to a place that nobody should ever have to go or be stuck in. And her wanting to be stuck in that place and wanting to distance herself from other people and connections and emotion. But then throughout the course of the film, just being able to or unable to escape from that and finding the meaning in her life again and working through that grief and tragedy. And in this film, like you said, it is something that like maybe on the surface is a little comedic, like, oh, a husband who can't get hard and that's why his wife divorces him. But where they kind of take that and the journey that these characters kind of go on to where he really did hit rock bottom himself. Like, sure, it wasn't this huge tragedy. Like, yeah, it sucks to get divorced. It sucks. I wouldn't wish it upon anybody. I mean, obviously, if you're unhappy, leave your significant other for sure. Like, don't stay in toxic or abusive relationships. But in this case, him losing his wife and losing all of his money and losing any sense of materialism or possessions that he had, losing all these attachments to the material world and starting essentially from rock bottom, and him himself discovering what it means to be alive again, to be a fighter, to survive, and to continue on and find his own sense of happiness. It is almost like an anti-revenge film too, because the revenge is not the point of the film. The point of the film, at least from my perspective, is, or at least what I interpret from it, is to, yeah, sometimes that's what it takes. It takes hitting rock bottom. It takes not having anything to realize what's worth fighting for and what's worth living for and all of that stuff. So, yeah, and I think, like, even so, like, even if I may on, like, a technical level and, like, on a just a critical level, I might prefer what Three Colors Blue goes for and how it executes it. It is not to diminish Three Colors White by any stretch.
I know, it's tough.
It is, to me... It's, to me, probably the most accessible and easiest to recommend out of the trilogy because it does have that levity, it does have that comedy, but also, to me, it just has that same level of complexity from like an emotional and writing standpoint, to where it's like I'm still thinking about it and what things mean and like what the overarching thematic relevance of certain moments and visuals are. But yeah, it's just a lot to dig into,
and it's not even,
it's great.
It's not even just him like getting his like material belongings taken from him and him hitting rock bottom emotionally.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's completely like has lost like his identity. Like he doesn't even have a passport anymore. So he is completely just like a blank slate in the world. So I just love that. Like, I don't know.
A blank state.
Yep.
But yeah, so I mean, I'm trying to look through my notes. We've really covered a lot of what I loved about this film. There's really not much that I disliked. I did have to add, and I'm going to be juvenile for half a second. I'm going to try to keep it PG. 90s Julie Delpy, I don't care how crazy she is in this film, is one of the most attractive and beautiful women to ever roam the earth. Between this film and before Sunrise, she's an all-timer for me. She is just, dude, she is unbelievably gorgeous in this film. Like she is like radiating beauty. And I know she's crazy in this and she's chaotic. She sets fucking, what is it? Curtains on fire. That's crazy. That's crazy behavior. But you know what? She is just so beautiful. I couldn't go this episode without bringing it up.
She is. I'm gonna let my hand a little bit. Our next film we talk about, that's gonna be the one for me.
One Irene Jacob. Yeah. We'll talk about her in the next episode. But yeah, so the last thing that I kind of wanted to mention is I think even though the overall usage of the color blue is probably my favorite in that first film, comparatively to white and red, I think my favorite single usage of white is, or my favorite single usage of a color is in white, and it is to showcase Julie Delpy's character Dominique when she orgasms in the climax of the film, no pun intended there, it fades to white. And I think that is a super creative, slightly juvenile way to convey that, and I think that's great. But yeah, loved that.
So that's your
thank
favorite
you,
in the
Christoph.
trilogy?
Yeah, I thought that was so funny. I was laughing so hard when that happened. I was like, no way did they use a fade to white to show her orgasming. That's masterful filmmaking right there.
I like that you also, like, with these fades, you don't know like when they especially in blue they use them so much, you don't even know if
Yeah.
that's like the end of the movie. So you're just like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just like,
No, absolutely.
because they like hold it for a little bit too. It's just like, oh wait, am I
Yeah.
gonna see some credits roll right now?
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't go without mentioning too. I brought it up earlier. That POV tracking shot, my favorite shot of the movie. They do implement it again at the end of the film, but this time you see the extended version of it where it does kind of pan over a little bit and you see Dominique and Carol kiss. I thought that was really great reincorporation of an already seen scene, already shown scene. Phrase that a little weird, but yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get into ratings unless you have
I am
any
too.
other.
I didn't have as many
information.
notes for White, so I'm actually glad we actually had a longer conversation than I thought we were going to have about White.
No, I was a little worried about White because there is so much on the surface to dig into with like blue
Yeah.
and red, and this one being like the quote unquote comedy of the trilogy. I was worried, but I feel like we had an also equally excellent conversation about this,
Yeah.
and definitely a lot of what you said I'm going to be thinking about and just mulling over in my old noggin. So. But I think you kicked off the ratings for the last episode, and very similar. I think our discussion is going to boost my overall score. I had kind of walked out of Three Colors White, giving it a clean 9 out of 10. But after this discussion, I think I'm gonna bump it up to a 9.2 out of 10. I would easily rewatch this again. I could watch this right now. I don't know about you. I know you said you weren't laughing a ton, but I did find this very funny. Like I thought this was I was laughing routinely throughout the film. So
I just
very
didn't know
fun,
if I was
very
supposed
light.
to. That's the thing. I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be laughing here. But that's the
From the second the pigeon shit on his shoulder, I was like, oh, this is different. This is a different tone.
yeah.
But yeah. So what
so
are you
Three
giving
Colors
Three
White-
Colors White?
I am landing on a 9 out of 10.
Okay. All right. So I'm a smidge higher on both of these films than
dude,
you.
these
so.
movies can really just keep going up. I don't know. This is first watch for me and
Yeah.
you, but like, I mean, first watch for Blue for me also. So, I remember seeing like even on Letterboxd, you had a crazy progression. You had like 5 different different opinions on that. I think your first watch, it was like for Blue was like a 9 or something like that, or even lower. I don't know.
No, the first time I'd ever watched it before this kind of rewatch
Yeah.
for this podcast, I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I don't think maybe I did a review for it and I put an actual like decimal score like I normally do, but I was very high on it the first time I watched it. So I was just I literally, like I think I said in the first episode, didn't watch White or Red because I knew this would be something I wanted to discuss on the podcast. And I thought it would be like an interesting kind of perspective to where you hadn't seen any of the 3. I'd only seen the first of the 3. So again, like I had texted you that tonal whiplash really, it kind of caught me off guard between Blue and White. But yeah,
You want to hear the progression? I got it right here. This is this is gonna be me.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say Jake's ratings. This is his relationship with Blue. 8.9 out of 10, 9.3 out of 10, and then all in probably a day, a 9.5, a 9.8, and a 10 out of 10.
This is why film discussion is important, guys, because maybe you talk to somebody about a film and they make you realize something about it that you love even more, or maybe
White was in like the high 8s for me when I was like kind of like when I sat with it for a little bit. It was like in the high 8s, but I want to keep it at the 9.
I would love to check out some like video essays and just like analysis on White, because I think I did that a little bit when I had watched Blue a couple months back, but I think I had forgotten a lot of what people said, but very curious to see what other people interpret from Three Colors White. But yes, so that's our scores for this. You get a 9.2 for me and a clean 9 out of 10 for Josh. So I hope you enjoyed us listening to Three Colors White. I think we did a pretty damn good job, especially both of us. I think I just watched this yesterday. I don't know when you watched this, so yeah, I thought we had a good conversation, a lot of good discussions.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you had a little bit of time to mull it over, but again, three of these movies in a short succession. It's a lot to take in. But again, thank you guys for listening. I hope you did enjoy this discussion. If you did, make sure to like. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, Former Film Student. We also are on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. So if you are listening to either of those platforms, then please give us a like, follow, leave a comment. So. We'd love to interact with you guys. Let us know what you thought about the episodes. What do you guys take away from these films, these 3-color films? Like, what do you guys take away from 3 Colors White? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it as well. Of course, you can listen to us, like I said, on all 3 of those platforms. We will give you always 2 to 4 episodes every 2 weeks. If you don't know, we used to upload just 1 episode a week and cram a bunch of movies into 1 episode. Now we give these episodes a little bit of time to breathe. So you will be getting this episode on Thursday, and you will be getting our discussion for the next and final installment of the 3 Colors trilogy, that being 3 Colors Red, on either Saturday or Sunday of this week. And then obviously that episode will tell you guys the next franchise that we're diving deep into. So again, thank you guys for listening, but that's really it on my end.
All right. Yeah. So guys, head on over to Instagram, give us a follow at Franchise Deep Dive. Look out for the future posts, future franchises we're going to be talking about. Like, comment, always DM us if you have any suggestions, criticisms. We'd love to interact with you. And you can always email us as well at franchisedeepdive@gmail.com. But again, always appreciate you guys tuning in. Let us know what your favorites are, because this one is another one where I see a decent community even put White as like the favorite, and that's universally like the least favorite. So let us know if White is your favorite or the other ones. But yeah, guys, really appreciate you.
All right, yeah, 3 Colors White, truthers rise up, even though it's not my favorite of the 3. So still great though. But yeah, I agree with Josh. It literally, any of these being your favorite, I just want to hear why. I'm not even going to debate or argue with you. But as we like to do on this podcast, I like to give Josh a question and give him 20 seconds to answer. And I like to stress him out. But this one, I'm not going to make this one stressful. This is just my curiosity, and I'd love to know it. Josh, in your opinion, and you'll have 20 seconds the second the question ends. Josh, what is your favorite video game of all time? What is your all-time number 1 video game? Your time begins now. Because I don't talk to you about games much, but I'm very curious what your favorite is.
I'm going to land on... Oh, I have 2. I'm going to say Batman Arkham City.
Oh, all right.
But
That's
I'm also
a good-ass game.
I probably haven't played as many as Jake. I really do love Resident Evil 4 a lot.
Oh, I haven't played it.
Oh, really? Have you played any of them?
I've only played the first one. A couple years back, they had it on Xbox store for like $20, and I was like, oh, well, I've never played these. That's a blind spot in my gaming.
I love the first one. I think the first one is like... I think the first one's the scariest.
First one's scary. Dude, it's scary. It's because it's all those like fixed angles. Like I think it's the only one in the franchise that has like all these like fixed angles, which adds to the creep factor.
I want like a remaster of it. But I'm wondering if that'll almost like take away from that.
No, they did. They did remaster it, I think.
I thought they didn't remaster that one. I thought it was like 2. Oh. I thought it was like every other one they did.
Well, whichever one I played, it was Resident Evil 1. It was the first one, but it looked like a remaster. It looked good. Yeah, the mansion.
But they don't. I guess they don't. It's the same style of like gameplay. Like you're.
Well, there is a difference between like a remake and a what's the other one? There's for games. So it's a remaster. Are you asking for a remake or a remaster?
Well, now I don't even know. I don't know.
Because a remake, they might make changes to the creativity of it, like the like you said, like the fixed angles. They may change dialogue or characters or whatnot. But a remaster is just like an updated graphical version of it.
Oh, then maybe I need to download that then, because I want like a little better image. But
maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. Whatever I played, it looked good. So, but either way, guys, we definitely overstayed our welcome on this one. So definitely stay tuned for the next episode. Like I said, we will be closing out the Three Colors trilogy with Trois Couleurs Rouges, or Three Colors Red if you're a dumb American.
That's just good. Go to France again.
Yeah. Yeah, and
You'll have no
it'll
problem.
also be kind of interesting. It'll be interesting because it was actually the final film from the director Krzysztof Kozlowski before he unfortunately passed away 2 years after the release of Three Colors Red. So I definitely want to do a little bit more research on him and kind of look into
Only 54.
his other
That
films
sucks.
and stuff. Yeah, man, it's
Really
always the
sucks.
great ones who die young. Yeah. But either way, guys, I hope you enjoyed listening to Three Colors White. That is it for Jake and Josh over at Franchise Deep Dive. We will see you on the next episode. Goodbye.
Later, guys.